Christopher Columbus is a hero.
What you talking about?
But have you ever wondered why so many people are convinced otherwise? Is it possible that much of what we've been taught about Christopher Columbus is based on misinformation or political agendas?
That would never happen.
Quick question. Do you know how many voyages Christopher Columbus made? If your answer is anything other than 4, then perhaps there's more to this story than you've been led to believe.
Well, I don't like where this is going.
Across the nation, statues of Christopher Columbus are being torn down. Social media is flooded with claims of Columbus celebrating genocide, slavery, and even being the world's first sex trafficker. But with over 600 statues erected in his honor over the past 500 years, are we the first generation to suddenly see the light? Or is there more to this story? Columbus made 4 voyages, and if you weren't aware of that basic fact, it's worth questioning what else might you be missing from the narrative.
Ouch.
These voyages weren't solo endeavors. In fact, hundreds of people accompanied him, documenting their experiences through their journals, their letters, and their memoirs. I suggest you go check them out for yourself. When Columbus first landed in the New World, he encountered a group called the Taínos. These people were friendly to Columbus. In fact, they had a good relationship. So much so that the Taíno tribe warned Columbus that, hey, there's this other group of people called the Carib or the Cannibal tribe. We get the words Caribbean and cannibalism from that word, that these people were cannibals and that you should be warned about them because they will attack you and they will kill you and they will eat you. And of course, Columbus, with his European sensibilities, he brushed those warnings off. He's like, nah, are you kidding me? No, that can't be true. Unfortunately for Columbus, it was true. And while he was embarking somewhere else, the cannabis tribe came in, attacked his men, and killed them and nearly ate them.
Oh, not cool. Not cool!
The reason why they didn't was because the Taíno tribe came in and ran them off. But nevertheless, Columbus's men were gone. Columbus was distraught. And things only got worse for Columbus because as he went to investigate this, he found something horrific. He found within the Carib community villages of Taíno women who had been captured and were being used as sex slaves, and also they're being used to harvest a food source, as in their children.
Sick.
This is horrible. And so Columbus had a decision to make. The time period we're talking about now is called the Age of Conquest. And during this period, people had 2 options when it came to dealing with their enemies, especially when they were polar opposite to what they themselves believed. You had one option was to enslave them. The other option was to kill them. Columbus chose the latter. He went to war with the Cannibal tribe, wiped them out, preventing them from doing further damage, kidnapping other women from the Taíno tribe, using their children as food, and also prevented other villages from being terrorized in the same manner all across the island region. And so this was a huge deal, and the Taínos were very thankful for Columbus for this. And so the narrative that Columbus was some sort of genocidal maniac going after innocent natives, no, he went after the natives who were terrorizing their neighbors and enslaving them and using their children as food.
Well, when you put it that way.
That's the Columbus that I'm pretty sure you never learned about in school.
That would be correct.
And just to be clear, once again, the so-called genocide was against cannibals, not innocent natives. And so if you were to take the notion that this story of the cannibals was untrue and we can't trust it because it comes from Columbus and his men, well, what's interesting is just a few years ago, there was a study done, a forensic historical study, which basically came to the conclusion that, you know what, Columbus was probably right. This probably did actually happen. I'll leave a link to this article and the study in the description. Now, what about Christopher Columbus being some sort of gold digging, literally,
I see what you did there.
greedy man who only cared about conquest for his own glory? Well, this gets down to the motive of who Christopher Columbus was, but to understand that, you must first understand what was going on at the time. At the time, the Christians in the world felt that Jesus Christ was coming back in the next 150 years. Of course, it didn't happen, but that's not the point. They felt that way. They were trying to reclaim an area that was being conquered by Muslims all over the place. I'm sure you've heard of something called the Crusades, but I'm sure you only heard about the 15 or 17 crusades that were done by Christians to go against Muslims. I'm pretty sure you didn't hear about the hundreds of Muslim crusades that were going after areas in Italy, in Spain, in Israel. I bet you didn't hear about that. So Christopher Columbus's motives were not personal. They were to reclaim the Holy Land for Jews and for Christians. In fact, his writings reveal this, that he was a man guided by faith, not by greed. And I recommend that you go after the actual writings of the time, the contemporary pieces, not the revisionist pieces that are just trying to set forth an agenda and tear down a few statues for a group of people who want to claim power in other areas in politics. The narrative surrounding Columbus has been twisted over time, shaped by agendas rather than by facts. So before we rush into judgment, it's crucial to seek the truth. Columbus, like all of us, are far from perfect, but labeling him as a villain based on half-truths does history a serious disservice. Let's celebrate the spirit of exploration and understanding just as Columbus did over 500 years ago. And you know what? If you take into consideration the fact that he was able to go into an area, eradicate an enemy that was terrorizing neighbors, enslaving women for sex trafficking, and using their children as food, eradicating that behavior and protecting countless number of tribes in the area, to me, means Christopher Columbus was indeed a hero.